Maya Carter stepped out of her old car and stood for a moment on the driveway, staring at the house glowing with lights. The music thumped inside, and laughter spilled out every time the front door opened. She smoothed her simple blue dress, the one she'd worn to work events before, and told herself it would be fine. It was just a party. Inside, the house looked like something out of a magazine. Huge chandeliers, golden balloons with the number 30, waiters carrying trays of champagne. Everyone was dressed in glitter and designer heels, their hair and makeup perfect. Maya felt their eyes on her as she walked in. She smiled politely, trying to shake off the knot in her stomach. Maya. Lauren's voice rang out. Her cousin, the birthday girl, glided across the room in a sparkling silver dress, hugging people as she passed. She looked like a movie star. "You made it," Lauren said with a quick hug, but something in her tone felt more polite than warm. Maya nodded. Wouldn't miss it. She tried to blend in, but it didn't take long for the whispers to start. A group of Lauren's friends stood near the bar, their voices just loud enough for Maya to hear. "Is that her?" one of them said. "Yeah, the cousin," another replied, laughing. "The nurse who's always broke. She's brave coming here in that dress," someone else added. Maya's face burned. She tried to walk away, pretending not to hear, but the comments followed her. When she picked up a drink from the bar, a woman with a fake smile said, "So Maya, what did you bring Lauren? Or did you just come for the free food?" Maya froze. Before she could speak, Lauren's voice cut through the room. "You know what? Maybe it's better if you just leave, Maya, before this turns into a bigger scene." The room went silent. Everyone stared at her. Maya's throat tightened. She set the drink back down without touching it, nodded once, and walked toward the door. Her heels clicked loudly on the floor, every step heavier than the last. She didn't look back. Outside, the night air hit her face, cool and sharp. She took a deep breath, her hands shaking as she started toward her car. "Maya." She turned around. Lauren was running after her, her silver dress sparkling under the porch lights. "What are you doing?" Maya asked, her voice breaking. Lauren stopped in front of her, breathing hard. "I can't stay in there with them. Not tonight. Not anymore." From inside the house came the muffled sound of music and the distant murmur of gossip. Guests were already whispering about the scene. Maya stared at her cousin, confused and hurt. "You just told me to leave." Lauren's eyes glistened. "I know. And I hate myself for it. But I'm leaving too." And just like that, the birthday girl walked away from her own party. Maya was raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs to keep a roof over their heads. Life was never easy. Money was always short, and Maya learned early how to make do with what they had. She wore hand-me-downs, shared textbooks with classmates, and helped her mom with bills as soon as she was old enough to work. But she wasn't completely alone. Lauren, her cousin, was like a sister to her growing up. They spent summers playing in the yard, sharing secrets late at night, and dreaming about the future. Back then, they promised each other they would always be close, no matter what. Things began to change as they got older. Lauren's family was better off, and she started going to private school, while Maya stayed in public school. Later, Lauren met Ethan, a man from a wealthy family. Their wedding was like a scene from a fairy tale. A big church, designer dress, hundreds of guests. Maya stood by her side as a bridesmaid, smiling through the whole thing, even though she felt out of place. Now, years later, Lauren lived in a beautiful house, drove expensive cars, and went on vacations abroad. On social media, she posted pictures of perfect dinners, sparkling parties, and her little boy, Caleb, dressed in matching outfits with Ethan. To everyone else, she seemed to have the perfect life. Maya's life was very different. She became a nurse and worked long shifts at the hospital. The work was hard, the pay just enough to cover rent and groceries, but she was proud of what she did. She cared for her patients like family. Still, she often felt invisible, at work, where her efforts went unnoticed, and in her own family, where people quietly compared her to Lauren and saw her as the one who never made it big. Despite the distance between them, Maya never stopped being there for Lauren. Whenever Lauren called, crying after an argument with Ethan, Maya would listen, offer advice, and remind her that she deserved to be happy. What Maya didn't know until tonight was just how bad things had become. Behind the pretty pictures and perfect parties, Lauren's marriage was falling apart. Ethan controlled every part of her life, from what she wore to how much she could spend. He insulted her when no one was around, told her she was lucky he married her, and reminded her that without him, she'd have nothing. Lauren stayed quiet, trying to keep the peace, but she felt trapped. Every day she played the part of the perfect wife and mother, smiling at parties while hiding her pain. For Maya, the party tonight had been one more reminder that she didn't belong in Lauren's world. She had stood in that shining house, wearing her simple dress, hearing the whispers about her job, her life, her lack of a fancy gift. It wasn't the first time she had felt small, but somehow this time it cut deeper. And yet, when Lauren came outside after her, Maya saw something in her cousin's face she hadn't seen in years. Not judgment, not pity, but fear and desperation. Maya wanted respect. She wanted to stop being the cousin everyone pitied or mocked. She wanted to belong somewhere, without having to prove she was enough. Lauren wanted freedom. She wanted to breathe without asking permission. To stop pretending everything was fine. To give her son a better example than the life she was living. For the first time in a long time, the two cousins stood on the same side, both of them tired of the roles they had been forced to play. Outside the party, the night was quiet except for the distant sound of music and laughter coming from the house. Maya crossed her arms, still shaking from what had just happened. Her chest felt tight, and her eyes stung. She had almost made it to her car when she heard footsteps behind her. Maya, wait. It was Lauren. She ran down the driveway, her silver heels clicking against the pavement, her dress catching the porch light. She stopped in front of Maya, breathing hard. What do you want, Lauren? Maya asked, her voice cold. You told me to leave, so I'm leaving. Lauren's face crumpled. I know. And I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I can't do it anymore. Maya frowned. Can't do what? All of it. Lauren gestured back toward the house. The parties, the perfect smile, pretending like everything is fine when it's not. They can have the house, the cars, the parties. I don't want any of it anymore. Maya blinked, surprised. Lauren, what are you talking about? Lauren's eyes filled with tears. Ethan has been cheating on me for months. I found out 2 weeks ago. And when I confronted him, he laughed in my face. Said no one would believe me even if I told them. And he's right. His family owns half this town. They think I'm just the girl who got lucky marrying him. They'd call me ungrateful. Maya felt her anger soften. She stepped closer. Lauren, I had no idea. Of course you didn't, Lauren said bitterly. Because I've been hiding it. I've been hiding everything. The way he controls me, the way he talks to me when no one's around, the way I feel like I'm walking on eggshells every single day. Tonight, when they laughed at you, when I told you to leave, something in me just broke. I realized I've been just like them. Pretending. Keeping quiet. Making someone else feel small so I don't have to face how small I feel. Maya stayed silent for a moment, letting Lauren's words sink in. The anger she had felt was now mixed with worry. She had always known Ethan was arrogant, but she hadn't realized how bad things had gotten. So what are you going to do? Maya asked quietly. Lauren took a deep breath. Her voice trembled, but there was steel in it. I'm leaving him. Tonight. Maya's eyes widened. Lauren, think about this. If you leave, he's not just going to let you go. He'll come after you. He'll make it hard. I know, Lauren said, nodding. But I can't stay. Not one more night in that house. I can't sit at that table tomorrow morning and pretend like I don't know he's with someone else. I can't smile through another dinner while he talks about me like I'm a child. I'm done. Maya hesitated. This was dangerous. Ethan's family had money, power, connections. If Lauren left, Maya knew they would blame her. She could lose her job if rumors started spreading. She could be dragged into court battles. She could lose everything she'd worked for. But when she looked at Lauren's face, she saw something she hadn't seen before. Determination. Where will you go? Maya asked. Lauren took a shaky breath. With you. If you'll let me. I just need one night away from here. Away from him. Then I can figure out what comes next. Maya's heart pounded. She thought about her tiny apartment, about the gossip this would cause, about the storm that would surely follow. But she also thought about how Lauren had stood by her side when they were kids, how she used to sneak her snacks when Maya's mom couldn't afford treats, how she always swore she'd protect her like a sister. Okay, Maya said finally. Come with me. Lauren let out a breath, almost a sob, and nodded. Together they walked to Maya's car, two women stepping into the unknown. Inside the house, the party music kept playing, the guests still laughing and drinking, unaware that everything had just changed. Ethan found out the next morning that Lauren had left the party with Maya. He didn't just call her. He stormed into Maya's apartment building, pounding on the door until Maya told Lauren not to open it. When he realized they wouldn't let him in, Ethan shouted through the hallway, his voice echoing. "So this is what you're doing now? Running off with her? Do you have any idea how pathetic you look?" Lauren stood frozen, holding Caleb's favorite stuffed bear in her hands. Maya quietly locked the door, her heart racing. Eventually, Ethan left, but not before saying loud enough for the neighbors to hear, "You think you can just leave me? You'll come crawling back when you have nothing." The next few days were worse. Ethan started calling everyone they both knew, friends, neighbors, even people at Lauren's gym. Suddenly, everyone had a story about Maya. Someone claimed she had been using Lauren for money. Another said she was jealous of Lauren's life and had been trying to steal her away. The rumors spread to Maya's workplace. Nurses at the hospital whispered when she walked past. One of the doctors asked if it was true she had run off with a married woman. Maya kept her head down, but it cut deep. She had worked for years to build her reputation, and now people looked at her like she was trouble. Lauren wasn't spared either. Ethan's family called her over and over, telling her she was ruining everything. They said she was being selfish, that Caleb would grow up without the life he deserved if she kept this up. They reminded her how much Ethan provided: the house, the cars, the private school. One night, Lauren sat on Maya's couch, holding her head in her hands. "Maybe they're right," she said quietly. "Maybe I shouldn't have left. Maybe Caleb would be better off with his father." Maya's chest tightened. "Are you serious? After everything he's done?" "I don't know," Lauren snapped, tears in her eyes. "I just know that Caleb didn't ask for any of this, and I can't give him what Ethan can. I dragged you into this mess. Everyone hates you now, and for what? So I can sit here crying in your apartment." Maya's voice rose. "You think this is easy for me? I'm risking my job, my name, everything I've worked for, because you asked me to help you. Don't stand here and tell me it's for nothing." They stared at each other, the room thick with anger. For a long moment no one spoke. Then Lauren broke first, her voice small. "I'm sorry. I just feel like I can't breathe." Maya sighed and sat beside her. "I get it. I do. But you didn't leave because of me. You left because you were dying in that house. Don't let him make you forget that." That night, they stayed up late talking. For the first time in years, they remembered what it was like to be close. The sleepovers as kids, the silly songs they made up, how they used to dream about moving away from their small town and starting fresh. It didn't erase the tension, but it made them feel less alone. But Ethan didn't stop. A week later, papers arrived at Maya's apartment, divorce papers. And worse, Ethan was demanding full custody of Caleb. Lauren read the documents with shaking hands. "Full custody," she whispered. "He's trying to take my son." Maya put a hand on her cousin's shoulder. "He's trying to scare you, to make you run back to him. But what if he wins?" Lauren's voice cracked. "He has money, lawyers, everything. I have you. That's it. Then we fight," Maya said firmly, even though fear knotted in her stomach. The days that followed were full of lawyers' meetings, tense phone calls, and endless paperwork. Ethan's family grew nastier, threatening to cut Lauren off completely. Maya's boss pulled her aside and said she was becoming a distraction at work. Every night, Lauren and Maya sat at the small kitchen table, trying to stay strong. Caleb would sit nearby drawing pictures, asking when he could go home. Lauren would hold back tears and tell him, "Soon, baby. We're figuring it out." The pressure was crushing, but something was also changing between the cousins. Maya was no longer the quiet, shy girl who stood in the corner at parties. She was the one holding everything together, the one who refused to let Ethan win. And Lauren, for the first time in years, was starting to believe she could live without him, that maybe she and Caleb could be free. But the fight was just beginning, and they both knew it. The next step would be in court, and that battle would decide everything. Ethan's lawyers stood tall in the courtroom, their voices sharp and cold. They painted Lauren as an unstable woman who had abandoned her perfect life for no reason. They showed pictures of the house, the parties, the vacations, as if those things proved Lauren had nothing to complain about. Then they turned to Maya. "This cousin," one lawyer said, pointing at her, "is the reason we are here today. She filled Lauren's head with ideas, convinced her to destroy her marriage, and is now manipulating her for her own gain. We have witnesses who saw Maya with Lauren at bars, whispering, plotting." Maya clenched her fists under the table. She had been quiet through most of the trial, letting the lawyers speak, but now her heart pounded. Lauren sat beside her, pale and shaking. When it was Maya's turn to take the stand, the courtroom went silent. "Maya Carter," the judge said, "you may speak." Maya stood up and walked to the witness stand. Her hands trembled as she placed them on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. She looked out at the room, Ethan sitting there smug, his lawyers confident, Lauren watching her with wide eyes. "Maya," Lauren's lawyer said softly, "tell us what you've seen." Maya took a deep breath. "I've seen Lauren cry on the phone at night because Ethan called her stupid. I've seen bruises on her arms when he grabbed her too hard. I've seen him call her names in front of Caleb and tell her she would lose her son if she ever left him. And I have been there for every moment when she doubted herself because he made her feel like she was nothing." The room was so quiet that even the sound of the air conditioner felt loud. Ethan's jaw tightened. "You call her unstable," Maya said, turning toward him, her voice stronger now. "But she is the most stable person I know. She stayed for years in a house where she wasn't loved, just to keep her family together. And when she finally left, it wasn't because of me. It was because she wanted to give Caleb a better life than watching his mother be treated like she didn't matter." The lawyer tried to interrupt, but the judge raised a hand. "Let her finish." Maya swallowed hard, tears in her eyes. Lauren isn't running away from her responsibilities. She's running toward freedom. She deserves to raise her son without fear. When Maya stepped down, Lauren squeezed her hand. But Ethan still looked confident. His lawyer stood and began to argue again, twisting Maya's words, saying there was no proof. And then the twist came. A woman stood from the back of the courtroom. "I have proof." Everyone turned. It was Ethan's former assistant. She walked straight to the front, her heels clicking on the floor, and faced the judge. "I worked for Ethan for 3 years," she said. "I saw what he did. I heard the way he spoke to his wife when no one was watching. I saw him throw things during arguments. I even saw the messages he sent to other women while Lauren was at home with their child. I quit because I couldn't watch it anymore." Gasps filled the courtroom. Ethan's lawyer tried to object, but the judge allowed her to testify. She told everything: the shouting, the threats, the nights Ethan came home drunk and angry. Lauren sat frozen, tears streaming down her face. And then slowly she stood. Her legs were shaking, but her voice was steady. "I will not go back to him," she said clearly. "Not for the house, not for the money, not for anything. I would rather live in a one-room apartment with my son than live one more day under his control." The judge nodded, looking at Ethan, whose face had turned red with anger. After a long pause, the judge spoke. "This court grants Lauren shared custody of Caleb. She will have the right to raise her son without interference. Ethan, you are ordered to provide financial support, but Lauren is not required to return to the marital home." Lauren gasped, covering her mouth. Maya wrapped her arms around her as tears of relief ran down both their faces. Ethan stormed out of the courtroom without a word. Lauren stayed standing for a moment, her shoulders rising and falling, as if she was finally breathing after years of holding her breath. She turned to Maya and whispered, "We did it." For the first time, Maya saw her cousin not as the perfect girl from the rich house, but as a woman who had fought her way back to herself, and won. Lauren and Maya moved into a small, modest apartment together a few weeks after the court hearing. The place was nothing like Lauren's old house. No big chandelier, no fancy marble kitchen, no perfect lawn. The paint on the walls was a little chipped, and the furniture was secondhand, but it was warm and quiet. For the first time in years, Lauren said she felt safe. Caleb had the smallest room, but Maya and Lauren decorated it with bright posters and soft blankets. He loved it. "It feels like home," he said on the first night, hugging his stuffed bear and smiling for the first time in weeks. Slowly, life began to settle into a new rhythm. Maya returned to work at the hospital. At first, people still whispered, but when they saw her keep her head high and do her job with the same dedication as before, the gossip died down. One day, her boss stopped her in the hallway and said quietly, You've been through a lot, but you've handled yourself with dignity. I'm proud to have you here." For Maya, those words meant everything. She had fought so hard to be respected, and now people were finally seeing her for who she really was. Lauren started therapy, something she had never done before. At first, it was hard to talk about everything she had gone through. But slowly she began to understand her own strength. She started taking online classes to prepare for a job, saying she didn't want to depend on anyone ever again. She and Caleb became closer than ever. They spent evenings cooking together, dancing in the kitchen, and reading bedtime stories on the couch. Caleb stopped asking when they were going home. One night he told Lauren, "I like it here. You laugh more now." Lauren cried quietly after he went to bed, but they were tears of relief. For Maya, this new life brought her something she didn't expect: confidence. She no longer felt like the poor cousin. She had been the one who stood up, who stayed when things got hard, who helped Lauren find her way out. One night, after Caleb was asleep, Maya and Lauren sat on the small balcony of the apartment, sipping tea. The city lights glowed in the distance. "Do you ever miss it?" Maya asked softly. "The house, the parties?" Lauren shook her head. "No. Those things were never real. This," she gestured around them to the little apartment, to Maya, "this is real." Maya smiled. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel out of place. She felt exactly where she was meant to be. The two cousins, once separated by class, pride, and silence, now sat side by side, united by everything they had survived. And for the first time in a long time, the future felt wide open. Maya and Lauren sat together on the balcony of their small apartment. The night air was cool, and the city lights twinkled far away. Inside, Caleb was fast asleep, his soft breathing filling the quiet. For a while they didn't speak. They just sat there, sipping tea, listening to the faint sound of cars passing below. It wasn't the life either of them had imagined. No mansion, no perfect family picture. But it felt calm. It felt safe. Lauren broke the silence first. Her voice was soft but steady. "The party, all of it was fake," she said, staring out into the night. Then she turned to Maya with a small, almost shy smile. This is real." Maya's lips curved into a warm, knowing smile. She set her tea down and leaned back in her chair. "They kicked me out," she said quietly, almost like she was talking to herself. Then her eyes met Lauren's. "But I walked out with the only person who mattered." Lauren's eyes filled with tears, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from relief. She reached over and squeezed Maya's hand. In that small moment, everything felt clear. They had lost so much, but they had also saved each other. They had survived Ethan's power, the judgment of the world, and even their own fears. Maya looked back at the apartment, at the glow of Caleb's nightlight shining under the door. "We're going to be okay," she whispered. Lauren nodded, her grip on Maya's hand tightening. "Better than okay," she said softly. The two cousins sat there until the tea went cold, the quiet night wrapping around them like a blanket. They weren't just cousins anymore. They were family in the truest sense, bound by choice, by pain, and by love. For the first time in years, both women felt free. Ibasties. Two hearts, thank you for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me share more stories like this. See you next time. Waving hand.